So can everyone hear me? And I'm sure we'll hear the governor. I'm Mark Murrow, Senior Fellow here at Brookings, lead author of this work, along with a great team. And it's my privilege to take this in a bit of a different direction now. I think we've, the first panel, really talked about the new plausibility of the American platform for this advanced industry activity. The second panel took us deep into the world of technology development. I think incredible opportunities are evident there, but I think I picked up the sense that it's going to be a tumultuous, exciting ride to stay ahead, both for firms, but for states, regions, places, and individuals too. So, what I thought we should do now, though, is to bring this home not only to our region and the state of Virginia, but the sense of what governments, what regions can do, and how they fit in this incredible set of trends I think we've been talking about. So to do that, I'd like to introduce the irrepressible Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Honorable Terry McAuliffe. I think rounding out his first year in office, Virginia's 72nd governor, a lot of illustrious predecessors you've had, but to talk about the work of advancing advanced industries. Now, not only is Virginia a true powerhouse in this sector, given its 400,000 workers in the advanced industry sector, the Commonwealth is fifth among states for the density of those workers, which we think is the right way to look at this. It's not how many, but how big a share of your economic operation. 11% the economy directly employed in these industries. So this is a significant, diverse presence in the state. I don't know if Terry calls them advanced industries, but I do know he's all over the sector. He's made it clear, whether he's traveling to Bedford or Beijing, he's all about these industries. He's certainly sought to attract them, but he's spending an awful lot of time, I think we're going to hear about, and growing them organically within the state as well. So what I thought we'd do is spend maybe about 30 minutes here, have a dialogue about what, why, and where in Virginia, and then we'll open this back up. But I thought maybe, why don't we just start, to what extent does this whole concept resonate to you? I mean, we've had separate discussions. We have a discussion about manufacturing, separate discussion about energy. We seem to talk about software, services. It's all sort of fragmented. We're trying to put it all together. Do you see a continuity here, and are these the right things to be thinking about?
Well, clearly, Mark, they're the right things to be thinking about, because if you're going to grow and diversify an economy, it is your advanced manufacturing sector that's going to do it for you. I'm here. I do want to introduce my Secretary of Commerce, Maurice Jones, who is here with us today. But he and I have spent the last year, we're in a very unique situation in Virginia. We are the #1 recipient of Department of Defense dollars, #1 in America. We have a lot of military assets. We have the largest naval base in the world. The Pentagon is in Virginia, the CIA, Quantico. That's great when they're spending money, but when they're cutting back through defense cuts and sequestration, we get hit harder than anyone else. So our whole emphasis is bringing in businesses and building businesses that are less reliant on the federal government. That is my whole goal, and this is what I think about every day. We've had tremendous success in our first year. We did about 270 economic development projects. We brought in about $5.6 billion of direct investment, many of those advanced manufacturing. Not that anyone's counting, but I'm proud to say that is double what any governor has done in the history of Virginia in their first year in office, and we're just warming up. But we've brought businesses back from, exciting businesses, the largest greenfield, the largest Chinese investment in America. We just won that in Virginia, $2 billion investment, 2,000 jobs, advanced paper manufacturing company. Appomattox, Virginia, we just made an announcement the other day. This is what I talk about. This is exciting. It brings technology, brings it all together. We got a company from China to come back in and invest millions and millions of dollars to take over a shuttered furniture facility, which we've now reopened, and they are now manufacturing pollution control devices, which we take manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, and we take that finished product to our port, and guess what? We sell the finished product back to China. I mean, that's as good as it gets. We take their money to come back and reopen a plant. We build manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, use our port, deepest port in the East Coast, and that's what you have to do. And we've done dozens and dozens of these types of operations in Virginia, less reliant on the federal government, new 21st century technologies. I enjoy selling. I did 7 trade missions last year. We'll continue to do it. But listen, you got to have the fundamentals, innovation, creativity, a world-class infrastructure. We have very low tax rates in Virginia. We're 6% corporate tax. It's been like that for 45 years. It's not changing. Very pro-business environment, infrastructure, Dulles Airport, deepest port on the East Coast, world-class education system. And, you know, when we get all sort of this gelling together, working together, I mean, we are very competitive. We can bring any business back we want. Building technology is so critical. And the one thing I'd say, these jobs pay more than standard jobs. In Northern Virginia, in advanced manufacturing, the average pay is $100,000 compared to $65,000 for those non-advanced manufacturing jobs. So as governor, I mean, we're creating a lot of jobs. I just announced the lowest unemployment rate in Virginia since 2008. So the lowest we've had in 6 years. Jobs are jobs, but we want to make sure they're good paying jobs. And these advanced manufacturing, on average, pay double.
What are some of the industries you're focusing on most too? I mean, it seems like you've got, you know, by our accounting, a really diverse array. You know, I mean, you've got the shipbuilding on the one sense, you know, classic manufacturing, but then you've got a whole bunch of digital and IT and even energy activities.
Well, Virginia's a great state. I always say we're like 5 different states. If you look at Northern Virginia, you know, we have more data centers than any other state in America that we have up in Northern Virginia. We have more tech workers per capita. We have more tech workers than any state in the United States of America. So Northern Virginia, a lot of tech-related data centers, tech businesses booming here, related to the federal government, of course. But then you go down to the Hampton Roads region. I am such a huge advocate of the Hampton Roads region. We have the largest naval base in the world. You know, you've got Virginia Beach, you've got the tourism. You know, that is a dynamic economy down there, and we're trying to bring in businesses that piggyback. I mean, it's great that we have the largest naval base in the world. We have a lot of cybersecurity-related industries down there because of the military assets. So we're really trying to grow cybersecurity. The president, as you know, just put about $270 million in the budget. They're going to build what we call a new cyber campus. We want that in Virginia. I've told the president it needs to be in Virginia, because when Virginia grows, America grows. Forget the other 49 states. They really don't matter. It's got to be done in Virginia. Yeah. But, you know, what I talked about in Appomattox with pollution control devices, but I'm really trying to help South Side, Southwest Virginia, which really have been hurt. Textile, tobacco, furniture, you know, over the last 30, 40 years have been decimated. We just brought another company back that, you know, that is doing manufacturing. We've got aerospace, huge aerospace business that we're building in Virginia. Alcoa just did a big announcement on their blades that they use in their advanced manufacturing. Continental just announced a huge deal in Newport News related. That's 500 new jobs. Auto supply manufacturing for parts. We beat Mexico out to get that, which was a huge win for us. So honestly, Mark, there's not a business we won't chase. Right. If it's jobs, we're after it. And I want it in Virginia, and we're going to go get it. It has to make economic sense. We don't chase every deal. No. But really trying to build the manufacturing. I am so excited. But then again, those who know me, I'm always excited. But I'm really excited. We just announced a new pipeline. It'll be the biggest pipeline built, over 500 miles. We will now be bringing natural gas to Virginia from the Marcellus and the Utica Shale. What this pipeline will allow us to do, we already have very cheap energy costs. Our mix, we're about 41% nuclear today, and we've got about 30% gas, and small percentage now of coal and some of the renewables. But with the nuclear we have today, with this new pipeline, there's no reason, because these pipeline folks are like highways, and you can do an exit and enter ramp anywhere you want to a manufacturing facility. Why are we being successful bringing all these billions back from China? Because we are now competitive. You can get into the United States market. 40% of America is 1 hour's drive from Virginia. You've got the deepest port in the East Coast, but if you want to enter the U.S. market, low energy costs really make up a difference on the differential on employment pay. I can now compete with any Asia country on manufacturing. And this pipeline will take us to the next level. And then, so it's exciting.
Factor.
Yeah, and it's all manufacturing. So I really focus on manufacturing. These are good paying jobs. We have to do a lot more work in fairness. I think every governor struggles with this. Workforce development, we all talk about it. We're really hitting it hard. I think we have 30 or 40 bills in the legislature right now on workforce development. I know a lot of folks talk about degrees. I tell my education department, Secretary Holton, don't talk to me about degrees. I don't want to hear it. I want to hear about skill sets. You get out of college or school with a degree, with a lot of debt, and without a skill set is immaterial to me as governor. I want credentialing done. I've called for 50,000 credentials by the time I leave office. I've called for 500,000 credentials by 2030. We have 165,000 credentials right now in Virginia. That will make us #1 in America. There's not a job we cannot fill. But it is taking the jobs that exist today and matching them with our education system to build a skill set. I have 30,000 jobs open in Northern Virginia today in the high-tech space. They're not going to wait for me. They'll go to another state. So changing our whole mode of operation, of how we do it, working together, acting regionally instead of everybody fighting each other, building those credentials, that's how you build a state economy.
I mean, that's, in our report, we highlight sort of three priorities. On the one hand, commit to innovation. Yep. Build that skills pipeline, and then we talk a lot about ecosystems, those regional economies. I'm curious. You want to talk a little about? Pretty impressive set going back. Prior to your administration, now you're continuing. Some very innovative efforts in the innovation space. Do you want to talk a little about that?
Well, we have something very unique in Virginia that no other state really has. We have, the Commonwealth's Advanced Manufacturing, SECAM. Which has got a lot of great companies and Rolls-Royce. And basically, we have about 21 companies who've come together to fund this operation. And we have 5 universities. It is a very collaborative effort. So the universities who have all of this great research, they have a problem on commercializing and taking it out to market. Right. So we match them with the companies who, at times, have a problem on the research. So we brought them together, and they now work collectively in one place, so that you pool your resources. So all 5 universities who are, coming up with these great new innovative ideas, all the 21 companies share in that research and development and that technology that's developed. They all are involved in it. And it really has broken down barriers. It has incentivized our universities to commercialize and to go out into the market. And it's helped spread the costs for R&D, which for many businesses is prohibitive, but they've all come together under SECAM in Virginia. So this is a great idea that we have going, and more companies are constantly coming in with sort of new avenues of innovation that they want us to look at.
Does that tie into the skills work, or talk about some of the things you're doing skills-wise as well? It seems like you're doing apprenticeship, you're doing STEM education at some scale.
We're doing it. In fact, all this legislation, we're very creative. If we can get past, we're in session right now, so we sort of laugh here. We're working hard. If we can get past all these bills that I have, I think we have 40 governor's bills. I would say half of them relate to workforce development, to close this skills gap and to give the credentialing. And listen, this is not a partisan issue. And I think we're going to have tremendous success. We've already seen a lot of our bills get through subcommittee. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is about Virginia. This is about being competitive because we are in a unique position of the headwinds of sequestration that no other state has. Now, Maryland has challenges because, everybody here is sort of defense government related, but we're more vulnerable than anyone else. So I'm very optimistic we can get this done. But doing the credentialing, getting into our schools earlier, we need, and I know I agree with the gentleman here before, we got to get down in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, start talking about these STEM courses. I tell my Secretary of Education and my Superintendent of Schools, when these kids come into kindergarten, I want a Crayola book that says STEM on the front. Because if you wait till high school or college, listen, I just saw a report the other day, women, they're declining going into the STEM courses. Makes no sense to me. We should be growing today. These jobs exist. And in Virginia, here's the challenge I face. In the next decade, I'm going to have 955,000 Virginians retire. We're going to have 500,000 new jobs being created. That's 1.4 million. These are going to be new jobs and new technologies. We better have an education system that is very nimble, that can work very quickly with the business sector to say, what do you need? We have Newport News Shipyard, obviously spectacular, thousands and thousands of employees. Right now they're building 9 nuclear submarines, Virginia-class submarines. They've had an apprenticeship for years. They go away 4 or 5 years. They work with our 2 community colleges in the region. They get their degrees. They're working simultaneously. They're being paid. But they tell us at the education system, here's what I need. They would hire every single welder that we can give them. And I think the average pay, Maurice, $60,000, $70,000 starting out. These are good paying jobs. But we need to do that with every sector to match. And I really encourage our business community to get. We'll move our education system. I know, sometimes it's like moving an aircraft carrier. As you probably can tell, patience is not a virtue that will be chiseled into my tombstone. Not going to happen. We will move very quickly on this. I get out of bed, being honest with you. I got to compete against 49 governors and 200 nations around the globe. Yep. I want to beat them. I want us to win every single jobs development project in the globe. Now, you don't get that, but that's how I think. In education, early on, and then doing the credentialing that we're talking about and building an innovative system. And for folks that are watching, let me be very clear. We have very low taxes, 6%, as I say. Hasn't changed in 45 years, not changing. Very pro-business environment. I mean, if you're thinking of doing business, I have the deepest port in the East Coast. When these post-Panamax ships come around next year, I'm talking 10, 12, 14,000 TEUs. There's only one port they can come to on the East Coast. That's Virginia, our deep channel. Now, they'll come to Virginia now, these huge ships, and they'll offload their cargo, and the ship will rise, and then they'll go to those dinky ports in Baltimore and New York where they can get in, and then they'll load their ship up, and then they'll come down to Virginia. And with my new pipeline, with the new advanced manufacturing, take it all, train it right down, and we'll load the ship up, and it'll go back over to Asia selling product.
Do you, that's an exciting vision.
Yeah.
You're selling it externally and internally.
Yep.
I think we heard in the panel before some concern about not so much the outputs of the university system and the outputs of training systems, but the inputs that we're simply not, engaging, as you're saying, kids at the young enough level.
And we're not.
How are you thinking about that, and how are you?
And we are, and you're exactly right. We've got to listen. The jobs exist there today, but we have got the STEM H courses. Obviously, we have to do a much better job, and it goes down to your teachers. And listen, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I have school districts in Virginia that are in real serious trouble. That's my first priority, to make sure we get every school district where they need to be. I'm tired of people complaining about schools. It's time to take action. So in my budget, we have proposals for new training for teachers, for our principals, for our school board members. I mean, be honest with you, Mark, you got to get into the weeds in your education system. And it's not about throwing more money at universities and our higher ed. It's not. It's starting earlier, K through 12. I happen to be a huge advocate of pre-K. If 80% of the brain is developed between birth and 4 or 5 years old, why is every child not entitled to that ability to go to a pre-K? So I'm really trying to work hard on this issue. I just received about $17.5 million. I want to thank Arnie Duncan if you're watching TV. I'll have about 1,600 at-risk children in Virginia that now will be able to go to pre-K because of a nice federal grant that we received on that. So I would make the argument, start early, but we need to do a better job of exciting children in that K through 12 about the STEM H courses. We need to do a better job, all of us. And it really comes down to, and I agree, it's parents, but it's also your teachers to get them excited. So maybe change how we think about STEM H courses in higher ed. Let's start thinking K through 12. Let's get some of the best teachers early to get them excited about it.
And even this whole industry complex we're talking about, these advanced industries, many manufacturing that, I think people associate with decline over 25 years, and yet we're now seeing a different trajectory. Do you feel there's a broad understanding of, the kind of opportunities and what these industries look like now? I mean, I think our suggestion is there isn't, a broad feel, and there's a great concern that, a sense of overhang of lost jobs in the past. Do you talk some about that?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I do think some of these industries for some young people may not be as sexy as some other areas that they want to go in and exciting. That's totally false, because if you just look at the data and then the report that you have, These are very high-paying jobs. So I agree with you. In the old days, did I want to go on and be a welder and all that? Well, I'm telling you, I can hire every welder you can give me in Virginia today to go down and work at our shipyard. So I agree with you. We need to do a better job of explaining. And listen, when kids come to college now, I always say in the first week of school, we need to be telling them 4 years later when you graduate, here are the jobs that are going to be available. We don't seem to be doing that in our higher ed system. When you come to freshman orientation, I think it's great. Let them all have a good time, and we do the orientation stuff. But you lay out statistics. Here's the courses you need to take to fill. Here's how many jobs are available today in this sector. Boom, 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 boom. And if you want to work here, here's what you're going to get paid, and here are the courses you need to take. We don't do that. And we're really trying to shake up our education system to get us to do that. Yeah. I had fun in college like everybody else in this room, but telling them that in 4 years you're going to get out and you know that these jobs will exist, I think is probably the most important thing we can do. And, I've talked a lot. We have a lot of folks in Virginia that are really serious about our higher education. I think someone told me Debbie Wynn was going to be here today. I don't know if Debbie is actually. Debbie Wynn, who, used to be the CEO of Landmark and was one of the founders of the Weather Channel. And Debbie and I have had many conversations about this. I mean, this is what we have to do to build that. Listen, I feel very good. There's not a job we can't bring to Virginia. I love the challenge. I like to beat the other states. I love it. But I got to convince a CEO, in fairness, if you're going to spend millions, like all these millions that these companies are now spending in Virginia, that they're going to have a workforce 10, 20, 30 years. That's a fair argument to have. And it's not talk. You got to prove it to them. Yeah. Our whole economic development team, they spend hours sitting with companies trying to explain to them that you invest this, we're going to have that workforce for you. So it's all tied together.
Yeah.
It's a global economy.
It absolutely is. Let's talk a little about, I think we've been talking most of the morning on the one hand about the relative competitive opportunities or deficits in the U.S. We've talked about technologies. I'm interested about politics and policy. Let's talk a little about the role of a state, a role of a governor at a time where, we certainly, it's no secret that the federal apparatus is not getting it done right now. No. So let's talk, does that change the governor's role? Do you feel a special sense of leadership on the economy? How are you thinking about that? I know you've been an actor at the federal level too, and observed federal discussions. Where are we? What's the role of the state?
No offense to the federal folks, I love them all dearly, but it's actually at the state level where you actually get things done. As governor, I don't have filibusters and things like that. I got to make a decision every day. And if you're focused on job creation, I do view that. And listen, I ran for governor. This was my whole platform. And everything I've tried to do, and I say to legislators who come to see me, does this help us create one job? If it doesn't, then don't waste my time. Because listen, folks, I am under the gun because of sequestration. We don't have the luxury. We got to get this done, and I'm moving at warp speed to get it done. As I say, we've had great success. So things happen at the state level. The reason is you can execute. You want to make a decision. The best thing, I do think governor's the best job in America. You want to make a decision, or you make a decision, you can get it done through executive order. Now, I have to work obviously on different issues with my legislature. They're in for 45 days this year, but I'm sitting in that desk 365 days a year, every single day. There's no let up. I'm on call 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. And I do enjoy it. The different time zones, there's nobody at any time of day I can't call.
We're seeing some states, we've worked a lot in Colorado with Governor Hickenlooper on the space industry. We've worked very closely on the other side of the aisle with Governor Haslam in Tennessee. And I think there's a ferment where some of these states are assuming new responsibilities in the absence of other action.
Or the absence of their ability to work together in a bipartisan way to get things done. We're at gridlock here. This is not, everybody in this room would agree with that. Things aren't happening, which to a governor, just as an American citizen, I'm dismayed over it because it is a global economy. Do you think other nations around the globe, do you think China's waiting around or Germany or any of these other economies? No. And they are at gridlock today. The partisan bickering that goes on today is really impacting our ability to compete. That's why, as I say, at the state level, I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
We got to get it done. And I have a very good working relationship with members of the other side, especially on the money committees. We all sit down like adults. We may disagree on issues on the party of the other side. Doesn't mean they're bad people, but you negotiate, you compromise. And I think what's happened, this loss of ability to sit in a room and compromise, it's really destroying, I think, the American fabric and our ability to be competitive. I will sit down with anybody at any time to negotiate a deal. I don't get everything I want. Nobody does. You got to compromise. It's not a bad word, Mark. And that's sort of been lost. I know we're talking manufacturing, but I do think this political gerrymandering of districts has created this. I think it has done such damage to democracy where candidates, elected officials do not have competitive races. 80% of members of Congress are guaranteed to win election. The only way they have any competition is challenges within their primaries. So it pushes people to the right and it pushes people to the left, and the middle is gone. I am a very fiscally conservative, pro-business Democrat. I'm very socially progressive. I believe government ought to be out of people's individual lives. I try to operate in the middle. And I think that's where most people are, but it's unfortunately with this, they get pushed because of these partisan primaries, and we get rid of this partisan gerrymandering, you have nonpartisan drawing of lines, I think America would be in much better stead.
I mean, when we talk about these things you need in advanced industries, sort of what are the, the absolute minimum commitments you need from the nation, the federal government, as opposed to what you can do yourself?
Well, yeah, you can't have.
There's there are limits, right? I mean, things like R&D, for instance, are crucial.
Yeah, but on the federal side, listen, we are very competitive on our R&D tax credit, our angel investor tax credit.
Yeah.
Our R&D tax credit, it's refundable. Refundable in cash, which is, gives us a huge advantage. We do grant programs, we do loan programs. If you want to invest in Virginia in the biotech space, if you come in as an investor or, as one of the founders, we give you a long-term capital gains exclusion. You don't ever pay any long-term taxes in Virginia. So we have to develop our own tax code. But you raise an important question. There is all of this money sitting offshore with American companies. Now, I don't sit here and bash these CEOs of companies who have this money, because at the end of the day, they have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders to maximize profit. That's their job. So let's redo our tax laws here so that, guess what? You can bring that money back and you are maximizing shareholder return. That's what they should focus on. And if they could get that figured out, the billions and billions of U.S. dollar company money that's sitting offshore that would like to come back to our great country and create jobs here, that should happen. If they didn't do anything but fix that, Mark, we'd be in much better position.
That's your short list. That would be.
That's my short and long list.
That's good. Well,
there's capital sitting out. Bring it back. But I'm not going to sit here and listen. CEO has to put the money in investment where he or she's going to get the best return on investment. That is their job. So I'm not going to criticize that. What I will criticize is our inability to make our tax code to allow them to bring that money back and maximize shareholder dollars.
Channel that opportunity.
Of course.
Well, why don't this has been excellent. Why don't we open this out to some questions from the audience? Got a few minutes. Great. Yep.
With the recent elections of Governor Logan and Mayor Bowser, you're now the elder statesman.
Yeah, can you believe it already? Yeah.
Share what you see as unrealized opportunities for collaboration among Maryland, D.C., and Virginia that would realize your vision for a diversified economy.
And listen, I called Muriel the day she won. I called Larry Hogan the day he won. I'm actually convening a meeting of all three of us in Northern Virginia. I think it's February 16th. We're all getting together to talk about this, how we act regionally. Because you're right. Listen, we want jobs in Virginia. Governor Hogan wants them. The mayor wants. We get that. But also, and I just came up last week and had lunch with Mayor Bowser to talk about this. When we all work in concert together, boy, there's nobody that can beat us. Honestly, can beat this region because we have it all with the education and, we've got NIH, which is funding all the biotech space and all that. So I agree with it. We're all working together. So as I say, I'll be convening a meeting. We're all linked intrinsically through our metro system, of course. So that is a natural. because of the new Silver Line. And you look at what has happened with this new Silver Line for Virginia, for Tyson's Corner. I mean, the new Wheelie Ave station, I just read a report, $1.8 billion new economic development just since this was announced, will then go on into Dulles and then into Loudoun County. Huge opportunities for us. So you're right, all of us working together. We are competitive because, we want as much in our own respective states. But I do think, and we'll meet on the 16th, with a common core plan of what we need to do to bring businesses to the region. And then we'll scrap it out a little bit. But there, when you bring someone to a region, as you know, there's jobs for all three of us because they'll live somewhere or so forth. But it's a good question. As I say, I'm taking the lead and inviting everybody in Northern Virginia on the 16th.
We've got a good-sized advanced industry agenda for you guys. So
yeah.
Okay.
Well, cybersecurity, obviously, let's cut right to the chase. This is the one area that the federal government is going to plus up and spend billions of dollars on. We have all the assets in the region, as you know. And this will be, Department of Homeland Security, FBI, Defense, all of them interrelated. So that should be, respectfully, this new campus that needs to be in our region here. And that's a perfect opportunity. These are going, and I tell you, I have 5 children. I tell them all the time, cybersecurity, say go into cybersecurity. I'm trying to, my oldest daughter, she loves philosophy, and I think that's great. And she just graduated, and I love her dearly. I have a son at the Naval Academy. He's going to the Marines next year. He's taken care of it. But the 3 youngest, I am working this cyber piece every single day because they are the jobs of the future.
Your own selling job at home, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. Any more? Let's see.
Here's one right.
Just any other? Let's go to the back of the room, though. Anything?
What's wrong with me?
Yeah, okay. No, see this woman right here. Yeah.
Thanks for the governors, and I appreciate your presentation. And I appreciate you're optimistic, but I think one thing you should answer is what's the problem in the United States, what's the problem in Maryland, or even in Rockville. The one you present is so optimistic, but I suppose you didn't really discuss the point. What's wrong now? America is people don't like capitalism because they don't think it's working. They forget about fairness, They forget about justice, and they use misleading project.
Excuse me. I think questions about...
My question is here, would you be able to really, based on fairness and justice, to see how you can improve our society, including economics and job and housing and everything? What you are saying is, if you can spend the federal money or taxpayers' money, you can help some corporation to.
So I think it's a question about maintaining the competitiveness of the U.S. and U.S. strength.
What I try to say is, based on the real basics, that's simply fairness and justice to promote the general welfare of the general public. Forget about tax rate if they are not helping the general public.
Okay, let's let the governor respond. Yeah, I think talking about the overall competitiveness of the United States and maybe that there's a lack of recognition of that at a time right now.
That we're not being competitive?
Right. Yeah, I think yes.
Well, I think we're being
the other view, right?
Yeah, I would take the other view. I think we're being very competitive. Listen, our national economy is rebounding. As you saw, unemployment, they just came out for the nation as well. I think it was the lowest level we've had since like 2000. The unemployment rate has gone down dramatically. Stock market's at an all-time high. I think America is being very competitive. In fact, I won't mention names. I think I've hosted 22 ambassadors from around the globe to the mansion. In the last year, I'm trying to make it like the UN, encouraging these ambassadors to do business. I just met with the finance minister up here the other day for breakfast of a major country who said they're going to put $35 billion into the United States in the next 5 years because of the strength of our economy. I think if you look at China, why have they decided? I think for a lot of reasons. I think historically they'd gone over and done a lot of investment in Africa, and through a lot of reasons they're not as comfortable there. They've made a strategic decision. They're going to invest more here in the United States of America. I think all based on the strength of our economy and the resilience of the U.S. economy. I mean, I'm the ultimate optimist, but I'm really optimistic. I think, we're in a very good shape. The key issue, and I think this will be the key issue in the presidential campaign, is the middle class income, take-home pay for many Americans has dropped dramatically. And the challenge is going to be, when I talk about jobs, folks, to me, it is a job that pays well with benefits. A job should automatically, I'm not talking about someone who has to go work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. Quality jobs. That's why this is so important, because these are all high-paying jobs, and it gets the standard of living up for everybody. But our challenge in this country, and the people in the middle, rightfully, feel squeezed and have been squeezed economically. So making sure as we grow that there is a sense of fairness, that everybody has an opportunity to get that.
Do you think people perceive this swath of industries as relevant to their household fortunes? I mean, there's clearly the perception that some of these industries pay, have high paying, often PhD level or advanced degree jobs, and I think it seems like you've spoken a bit about
well,
that.
we do in Virginia, and I hope for the next 3 years they don't quite figure it out till I'm out of office. So I do realize it. We realize it. These are the future jobs. They're there. The metrics alone speak to it. Just look at the data. And as I say, in Northern Virginia, the average $100,000 versus 65. These are very high-paying jobs. And I can sit with one CEO after another up here in Northern Virginia, and Governor, I need this number, I need this number, I need this number of employees, and they're all good-paying jobs. So, you get on that.
Good. Any more questions? Antoine.
You said a few words earlier about this, I think you called it the SECAM, or the Commonwealth Campus, and you mentioned 5 universities and 21 companies. Can you talk a little, I'd never heard of it, frankly, and I live in Washington. Can you tell a little bit more about who are these universities, what are they good at, what are the companies, why were they attracted, et cetera?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's a very creative idea. It's been in Virginia for several years now, and the companies do it so that they are able to pool their resources and have access to university research and development. So we bring them together, and there's different layers of, there's the gold level and so forth of how much they pay a year. I think the top, what's the top you have to pay? $500,000 a year, is it? Yeah. $400,000 a year. And it goes down for different companies. At the $400,000 level, everybody has access to all the research and data. Universities love it, and they pay to actually join it because it incentivizes their professors that they have. I mean, universities, the one thing I'm trying to break down a little bit in Virginia, we've had too many silos. We need to do a better job of commercializing our great research and development at our universities. We need to incentivize our professors. I am all for if they come up with some great technology, they ought to be able to make money doing that, but we need more collaboration. And listen, I know it's hard. Every university has to worry about their own university, and they want to have the best and the latest product. But when you can bring them together and they work in one room together, it really turbocharges your research and development for a state. And we're in it, the state's in it, our team works with them every single day, and we're constantly bringing in, every month or two I go to a signing ceremony where a new private sector company has come in to become partners of it. They love it. Why do they do it? They pool their resources, unlimited access to the research and development. It's UVA, Virginia Tech, many of our top universities that we have, and the universities get access to the private sector to work with the private sector so that they can take their whatever research they have, and the private companies will take it out to the market, and they will likewise make money. It's a very unique concept. It's called SECAM. It's the Commonwealth for Advanced Manufacturing, Center for Advanced Manufacturing. It's a beautiful state-of-the-art building that we have. It's, right outside Richmond. And, you ought to come down and take a visit of it. It really is state-of-the-art. And every time I go there, it's really exciting with these scientists and professors and all the latest R&D they have going.
I mean, this is I think a state innovation that's been influential on, the federal manufacturing hubs. In some ways, I think the idea came from that. Well, I think it's time to bring this to a close, I think. And to that, I just want to thank the full lineup of outstanding leaders we've had today, Antoine, Dom, and our friends from McKinsey, all 6 of the industry leaders, and as well as yourself. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling we've got some strong leadership on deck at a time, obviously, of great opportunity and challenge, given the speed of things. And I hope you all in the audience have a new appreciation for the importance of some of these industries and the sense in which really they're quite different than maybe one imagines in particular areas. So we have a lot to do to ensure they flourish. And I'm pretty certain that their growth is a prerequisite to getting a handle on our broader economic challenges. Without a vibrant advanced industry sector, we're not going to have
won't happen.
Broadly shared opportunity in this country. So I think that's critical. So I'd just like to say Brookings and McKinsey, I know, are committed to staying with the story, to continue working on this. We hope many of you will remain interested. And with that, I'd like to say good day. Thank you. Have a great afternoon, and we will talk to you soon.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.